Hushpop Media dives into Disney's showdown with The View, where daytime drama meets corporate crisis.
Disney, the owner of ABC News and daytime talk show The View, is now the subject of a new report claiming CEO Bob Iger is urging the show's host to tone down their criticism of President Donald Trump. To sources cited by the Daily Beast, both Disney's CEO and ABC News' president have had conversations with show hosts, which indicated the higher-ups wanted the panel to tone down their political rhetoric.
What happens when The View gets too fiery for Disney? Turns out, the CEO might actually cancel the show after one too many political rants. Did Whoopi call Mickey a dictator? Did Joy fight for better pay for dwarfs? No one's safe when Disney's boss turns into the bad guy. Get your snacks ready. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a business battle with more drama than a soap opera in a theme park.
Now let's move on to the reports that the Disney CEO and as well as the ABC News boss have told the hosts of The View to dial down the anti-Trump commentary on their program. Kinsey, calling it anti-Trump commentary barely covers it. It's unhinged hate and hyperbole day in and day out.
And I'm sure it won't surprise you to know that there has been some pushback from the host. Now, Trump, continuing his battle with the media, is in mediation right now with Paramount Global over a $20 billion lawsuit regarding CBS News' 60 Minutes interview with...
Yep, Disney's CEO might really cancel The View. That lively daytime show where opinions often get buried under endless anti-Trump shouting. Picture the boardroom. Execs frowning, doing the math, and wondering how much money they lose every time the show goes completely off track.
The ladies of The View got really bad news. Apparently the head of Disney, the CEO of Disney, the man or the company who actually owns ABC, it's the parent company of ABC where The View is hosted, he's tired of the anti-Trump stuff. You know, it seems to me that their show basically is just focused on nonstop attacks on Trump. And if you don't have Trump, what the hell are they going to do? What would that show be about?
Disney, the king of childhood magic, now has to deal with an adult meltdown machine. And not just any meltdown. It's a daily anti-Trump fest, no matter what's happening in the world. Let's be real. The View stopped trying to be fair a long time ago. Now it's just loud, emotional debates with the same angry cast, all convinced that yelling is how you win an argument.
Well, Bob Iger has dropped the hammer. He said, look, no more. You got to tone it back. And apparently the hosts are fighting this. They want to be able to keep talking about Trump. And they won't even bring on Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson about their book on the Biden presidency. Why? Because they had Biden on last week. They're complicit in the cover-up. They don't want anybody on there that's going to say the truth about a Democrat. Come on. Can't have that on The View. The View is named The View and not The Views for a very specific reason. You get one of you.
If daytime TV was in the Olympics, this crew would win gold for eye rolls and showing off their morals. But between all the Trump bashing and strange outfits, Disney finally decided it's done. Hosting this chaotic show could mess with its clean, family image, and that's a risk they might not want to take.
Oh, okay, so you have to read this thing.
Oh, I've got a legal note. I do have a quick legal note.
You gotta milk this cow.
Yes, I have a legal note.
You have a legal note again.
Oh, I do. Wow, another one.
So what?
I have two legal notes. Ginny denied any conflict of interest between her activism and her husband's work on the Supreme Court.
Well, she doesn't talk him at night.
That's my legal notes. But let me say this very quickly. Ginny Thomas has denied any conflict of interest between her activism and her husband's work.
You got a
legal note.
I have a legal note. Trump denied experts' claims about wanting to shoot protesters.
How did we end up here? The View was supposed to be a place for all kinds of opinions. At least that's what the ads promised. But now it's basically a political shouting match, like a toddler banging on a drum set with zero control. The variety of viewpoints is as thin as a tightrope over Niagara Falls. These days, the whole show revolves around non-stop Trump bashing. So intense, you'd think he knocked down Cinderella's castle with a tweet. Every episode ends up at the same old routine. Find anything tied to Trump, yell about it, act shocked, and repeat. It's like watching the same broken record stuck on one complaint, even though Trump's not in office anymore. The show's deep talk is as shallow as a kid's pool at a water park. But don't be fooled. This pool is full of anger, smugness, and a clear message. We're the heroes, and everyone else is the enemy. Spoiler alert, not many people are buying it. Still, they'll do anything to keep those ratings alive.
Always want us to be respectful and do the things and talk about the stuff we talk about. We can do all of that. But when you are blatantly giving the country the middle finger, that is blatant. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to take the plane.
Don't you think when he lets these white Africans in and claims that's giving the middle finger to the black community? My God.
So what finally pushed Disney over the edge? Apparently, a rant so wild and off the wall, even Disney's famous patient snapped. No, it wasn't about Mickey's ears or a stolen churro. It was a full-on political meltdown that probably made Disney's execs wonder if they accidentally greenlit a serious version of a late-night comedy roast, just without the jokes. These days, Disney's been walking a tricky line. Stay woke enough for some fans, but still make sure the world keeps spending money on mouse ears and magic. That's tough when your brand's symbol is a happy cartoon mouse, not a headline, for daily political chaos. The CEO's been dodging drama left and right, theme park controversies, culture war arguments, and now, The View is their latest PR problem. Imagine the daily briefing. Okay, we've got another lawsuit about park. Rules, people mad online about movie themes, and oh yeah, The View screamed itself into another political mess.
Have received a warning from Disney CEO Bob Iger about their Trump derangement. Okay, the ABC News boss told the View host to tone down the anti-Trump criticism, according to a report. Now, the timing of this is very, very, very fascinating because we know that ABC News was on the receiving end of a lawsuit from President Trump after George Slopopotamus ended up defaming the president on national television in an interview.
Somewhere in a boardroom, a Disney exec probably let out a sigh so loud it shook their fancy water glass. Managing Spider-Man's adventures? Easy. But trying to control The View live on air, where debates turn into shouting matches, is a whole different mess. It's like WWE, but with words instead of wrestling. What's wild is how The View manages to push away almost everyone except a small group of die-hard fans who live for the chaos. But advertisers? Not so thrilled. They get jumpy when the show feels like a non-stop political war zone. No brand wants to be tied to that kind of noise, especially when half the country feels personally attacked. The ratings? Dropping. Advertisers? Pulling out. Disney? Watching it all and wondering if they accidentally invested in a sinking ship. Now they face a tricky question. How do you keep a show that's basically a 24/7 political soapbox without ruining your image? Or your profits? Cutting the show might seem simple, but daytime TV still brings in steady money, even if it's drowning in controversy.
Pull it down. That is Disney CEO Bob Iger's message to the hosts of The View, who are known for their hot takes and blunt criticism of the president and his administration. ABC parent company Disney is reportedly feeling pressure from the president.
That's according to the Daily Beast, that outlines a call with ABC's president and The View's executive producer. Iger told hosts Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sonny Hostin, Anna Navarro, Sarah Haynes, and former Trump aide Alyssa Farah Griffin to cool it on the political.
So instead of pulling the plug, Disney's CEO seems to be stepping in as the fixer, hinting that things might need to calm down, at least a bit. The irony? Perfect. This is the same company that gave us magical princesses, space heroes, and talking animals. Now they're stuck trying to tone down a talk show that shouts louder than a herd of hyenas. Disney was built on fun and family-friendly wonder. But here they are, stuck in a daytime drama that feels more like a live-streamed Twitter fight. Somewhere, Walt Disney is probably shaking his head, wondering how things came to this. A giant cartoon mouse locked in a war with a yelling match. What The View doesn't seem to get is that non-stop political yelling isn't powerful, it's just exhausting. Instead of having real discussions, they've turned into a megaphone for outrage. And when your whole appeal is, we hate Trump, more than you, it wears thin fast, especially once the news cycle moves on. If this were a business school case, it'd be called How to Lose Trust by Turning Your Show into a Daily Meltdown. Forget innovation or smart audience talk. This is a guide on how not to run a daytime show.
A meeting between ABC News' president and all of the ladies of The View, the hosts were told they needed to create a better balance of their show content, instead of it being heavily weighted on politics. According to the report's sources, the ladies were told to try and focus more on celebrity appearances and lifestyle segments because ABC's president said those episodes perform well.
Instead, viewers get stuck in a loop of anger disguised as conversation, a wild mix of yelling and moral lectures that feels more like a kid throwing a fit in an empty mall than actual news. At least toddlers get tired eventually. The strange part? The View didn't become popular because of all this drama. It's barely hanging on in spite of it. The ratings bounce around like a roller coaster run by someone blindfolded, and each loud meltdown loses more fans. The show stays in the spotlight not by being smart, but by turning the outrage dial all the way up, louder than a rock concert, but with less fun. They're trying so hard to stay noticed, but instead of pulling in new people, they scare off anyone who's not already in the drama fan club. You'd think the smart move would be to get thoughtful, maybe even calm down a bit. But nope, the View keeps going all in on yelling and drama. Watching it feels like watching a kid scream because they didn't get candy. It's not smart media, or even mature. But if noise and outrage are your jam, then The View is basically your playground.
But the women of The View reportedly told their bosses to take a hike. One source reportedly saying, quote, "This is what our audience wants. Isn't it going to look kind of bad if we're all of a sudden not talking about politics?" They ultimately decided they weren't having it with the, quote, "silly requests," and said they would just keep doing their thing.
In response to the report, former co-host of the show, Meghan McCain, took to X, saying simply, "They will never do."
Now enters the unexpected lead in this messy tale, the Disney CEO. He's not a political fighter. He's the guy supposed to be guiding Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars through tricky pop culture waters. Instead, he's stuck cleaning up the chaos. From a daytime show that's become a non-stop storm of yelling and sad stories. Imagine trying to keep the magic alive for millions of kids, only to realize your biggest issue is a show that melts down on live TV every day. It's like hiring a world-class chef and making them cook grilled cheese for a bunch of cranky toddlers. You can almost picture the office memos. Less screaming about MAGA, more magic and money, or maybe, can we go back to fairy tales and superheroes instead of midlife rants dressed up as political talk? The whole idea that a CEO who handles galaxies far, far away, and talking toys also has to babysit a talk show meltdown. That's a Disney Plus series waiting to happen. So what now? Will Disney slowly retire? The View, like an old ride no one wants to admit is broken? Maybe they'll rebrand it. Call it the Screaming Hour, complete with flashing lights and a rage meter. Or maybe they'll scrap the studio altogether and build a Star Wars ride there, finally giving people an escape from all the yelling, even if just for a few fun minutes.
When The View, a show that is basically coffee gossip and yelling about Trump, gets told by ABC executives, you've got to take down the Trump criticism a notch. According to multiple reports, ABC News presidents, this is going to be a tough one, Alman Karamedovic sat down with the co-hosts and said, less Trump, more celebrities. Disney CEO Bob Iger reportedly backed it up as well. Disney owns it.
Canceling The View might actually be a smart move. It could help Disney win back some of the respect it loses every time the show turns into a PR disaster. Think of it like fixing a ride at a theme park by removing the one animatronic that keeps breaking. It hurts at first, but everything runs better after. In the cutthroat media world, even a billion-dollar brand like Disney can only take so much nonsense before people stop trusting it, and advertisers stop paying. Disney is known for magic, not mayhem. And The View? It's become the opposite. A warning sign wrapped in shouting and finger-pointing. It's where calm goes to die. The CEO threatening to cancel isn't just flexing power. It's trying to stop the damage. Because when your whole brand is about dreams and joy, running a show that feels like a non-stop political fight isn't just a bad look, it's a serious business risk. Now Disney is doing the math, figuring out how much this chaos is costing them. Because at the end of the day, a giant company, even one as beloved as Disney, runs on image, money, and the kind of viral hits that don't make headlines for the wrong reasons. If The View keeps diving deeper into drama, it won't. just be a noisy show. It'll be a lesson in what happens when outrage replaces real content, and yelling takes over thoughtful conversation.
She even had the nerve to say, "I love you too." Really? What? So what happened? Because, I mean, that's not a conspiracy. We just watched you, we just heard you say it. That was straight from y'all stage. And then in addition to that, Trump mentioned how he helped her with her movie free of charge. No money, no hate, no drama. Everybody's cool. So what changed? Could it be that Trump was the villain all along? Or did The View just, switch up their script real quick to sell fear and fear-mongering?
So what's next? Will Disney finally pull the plug and let The View fade quietly into the background? Will they add new rules that feel like putting a muzzle on a loud parrot? Or will they hope the chaos keeps enough people watching, even as most roll their eyes? One thing's clear. When the company that gave us Mickey Mouse is calling out a talk show for bad behavior, it's more than a ratings dip. It's a full-on business emergency. Picture Disney executives nervously sipping coffee, scrolling through the latest clips of screaming matches, and wondering if it's time to ditch the drama and replace it with something less messy. There's only so much chaos a billion-dollar brand can handle before it starts losing its magic. Meanwhile, The View keeps doing what it does best, giving late-night hosts jokes, fueling political debates, and blurring the line between TV show and circus act. It's big on drama, dipped in over-the-top emotion, with just enough realness to keep fans watching. But from Disney's view, it looks less like fun and more like a loud PR problem in high heels, shouting at the sky. This isn't just about canceling a show. It's about a company trying to save its image, while a talk show keeps lighting matches. And somewhere between the yelling, the politics, and the executive memos, the whole thing turns into a wild story only the internet could love. If Disney really does cut the cord, and billion-dollar companies don't bluff often, it might be the end of The View as we know it. Or at least the start of a much-needed break. Because when the happiest place on Earth tells you to calm down, maybe it's time to listen. So the next time The View turns a small issue into a giant fight, remember, somewhere up in Disney HQ, the CEO is probably shaking their head, wondering how a show that was meant to bring people together became one of the loudest sources of division on TV. And maybe, just maybe, that is the real twist no one saw coming.